You're listening to New Mommy at 40 podcast. My name is Victoria Latour Dunker, and I'm your host. Welcome to our community. It's a non-judgmental, safe, honest space for mature people who are entering parenthood. We are almost at the end of season 1, so if you're new here, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for making this community what it is today. Please take a second and follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to this right now. All right, thanks everybody for being here, and let's get into it. Hit it! It didn't happen in my 20s. Who cares? Now I've got all this fancy wisdom to share. Hey, I've got this baby, you're getting the best of me, 'cause I'm a new mommy at 40. Wait, don't put that in your hair. Oh, great. This week, we're chatting with Kimberly DeVito Young. What I loved about this one is that our mutual friend from high school put us in touch to do this. Hi, Wendy Hillman. At 43, Kim is a wife and a busy full-time mama who is raising a young adult, 2 teenagers, and a 4-year-old. We'll talk about the unexpected but joyful addition to her family and the differences between her previous pregnancies. She shares the ins and outs of starting over again and the lessons she's learned along the years. Make sure you listen to the end to catch some great parenting tips and hacks for potty training and all of those arts and crafts that your little one brings home. Come grab some coffee or tea and sit with us. Hi, Kim. Nice to see you. How have you been? What's going on?
Been great. Busy.
Yeah.
Have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Work full time. So yeah.
Yeah.
Life is very full.
Yeah. You've got your hands full, and I'm glad to hear that life is very full. I wanted to talk to you because you're actually the first guest I think that we've had so far that has multiples across the board. So where you re-experienced being a mom to a young, like started over again after having near adult kids now. So when did you get married, or when did you start to have your older children? How old were you?
I was 24 when I had my oldest, and then my youngest, I was 40. So a very, very big gap.
Yeah. Well, what's funny, guys, is you'll see, as you know, we do like little clips. Even her picture, she does not look over 40 at all. That's what the best part of this is. She's like, 24. And I'm like, yeah, yesterday. But I'm sure it doesn't feel that way.
No, not at all.
So tell me, how did you get to motherhood at that stage?
So my husband and I met, I was actually still in high school. He was in the military and he was home on leave visiting family. And we actually met at a stoplight. So this is a whole nother
what
interesting story. Had another one of our mutual classmates was with me.
Wait. Hold on. You're not skipping that story, right? You're going to tell us.
No.
Oh, okay.
So he had some of his Army friends with him. And so we ended up at the beach. First off, we all parked in a spot that we weren't supposed to park in. And then once we got to the beach, they ditched us. So, of course, this was, a many number of years ago, before really cell phones and everything. And we were, I think, on the payphone, my girlfriend and I that were there. And all of a sudden we see my car go by on a tow truck. No. So we start running back to try to find them because they've ditched us. So my now husband was the perfect gentleman, paid for my car to get out of basically Hawk. We met for breakfast the next day. I paid him back. And the relationship just went from there. He was in Georgia, stationed in Georgia at the time, and he would come back, a couple of times a month, and sort of had a long distance relationship. And that's where it all started.
Wow. Well, first of all, he should have paid for the tow because he was rude by ditching you for the first place. I'm just going to call him out. Okay. Because now you're in love, and you glazed over the fact that he ditched us. So it was nice of him to do that. And so you got married how long after you
I was 21. So we waited about 3 years or so before we decided that we wanted to start a family. I actually had problems getting pregnant with my first. Was on Clomid for about 3 months.
Now, why was that? Did they diagnose you with something? How did they?
They didn't diagnose me. They thought maybe polycystic ovaries, but I was never like officially diagnosed. I was seeing a midwife, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So was kind of just, we had been trying for, probably like 6 months. Nothing was happening. So they were like, let's try the Clomid. So we did that for like 2 to 3 months and then got pregnant with our first.
Nice.
Pretty normal pregnancy, morning sickness, that kind of stuff, but no complications. Born on July 4th.
Which is apropos for, the daughter to a military man.
Yes.
July 4th. Okay. So were there any family questions of it being too early, or was that like in your family, was that a normal quote unquote age to start a family?
No, it was a normal age. My mom was married, younger, and then, had me around the same age. So my sister actually got pregnant in high school. So my daughter was actually the second grandchild. So it wasn't a surprise or, a shock or anything. Because, we had been married for a couple of years. There was no questions or,
We'll get to why concerns. I'm asking that, because you had lots of a range of reactions along the kids. So this one, everyone's fine. It's the quote unquote normal age. And then how many years apart are the second and the third child?
The first two, it's 2 girls, 2 boys. My older and younger daughter, they're 20 months apart to the day. Because we had problems getting pregnant the first time, didn't necessarily maybe take the precautions that we should have. And 20 months later, we had Kylie. So I don't know that it was a shock. I think it was probably more of a shock to us just because we always knew we wanted 3 kids, but maybe not that close, in age. Mm-hmm. So again, no one was like, oh my gosh, but it was, I think for us, it was just more of a shock. And it was like, okay, now we're going to have 2 kids under 2.
And what's that like when you have them close in like around the same stages of progression, in their development? What is that like for those of us who are thinking about adding to our families if possible?
I think it honestly, it depends on the kids. No 2 kids are the same. And for me, my girls are complete opposites. My oldest is a neat freak. My younger daughter is very messy. And my younger daughter had colic as a baby. Very difficult child. Just, was very set in her ways. She was the one that would, cut her hair or cut her clothes. When my first, my oldest daughter was just more of a, just like like what you would envision, the perfect child, just very well mannered. And they always say your second one's more of your wild child kind of vibe. But I think growing up, being that close, they did like the same things, like when they went through different phases of like Barbies or like American Girl dolls. So it was nice having the same sex and they could relate to the same things. Mm-hmm. So that was always nice. And for me, I like to dress them alike. So they always had matching outfits and everyone always thought they were twins because they were so close in age. But for me, I liked it. I think closeness in age was not a bad thing.
So they're close in age. And then the third, how many? So
because the second one was such a wild child,
you waited a while.
Like, I'm not really sure. We knew we wanted a third. And of course, my husband wanted a son. So we waited a little bit. And they're almost 5 years apart. Like okay. four and change. So we did wait a little bit.
And what was your method of waiting when it comes to waiting? Did you use birth control? How did you plan that out?
Yeah, I was on the birth control pill. And then once we decided, okay, I think we're kind of at a point where maybe she's kind of settling down. So then you just, stopped using the birth control and got pregnant pretty quickly. I think it was only like a month or 2. So
because I was thinking earlier, you said, because we always knew we wanted 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So, and you were this is very methodical in the sense of, okay, the first one out of bliss and, we love each other and married, we're young. Okay. We have a baby. Then, oops, second, third, not anything against your daughter. I'm sure
no.
She knows that. The way I said that was like, oops. But you had your first, you had your second, you planned out the third and by all means, you were done.
We were done.
And
we had the girls.
Yeah.
And we had our boy and we were done. We were absolutely 100%. We are done. We were good.
You closed up shop.
Full.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay. So how did you close up shop? What did you do?
So my husband would not do what he needed to do.
This was a request of yours, was it?
Yes. So I ended up, talking to my midwife, and we decided, I was still young at that point. You don't want to, God forbid something happens. You don't want to like limit your options. So we decided on the IUD. So at that point, that was when I got my first IUD and was working well. Was
Okay.
working very well up until
Okay.
until it wasn't.
So walk me through. Okay. So are you a planner? Because,
Yes.
and this is your profession
Yes.
too, right?
Yes. I'm a vet planner by trade.
So what I'm hearing and feeling is that you like schedules, you plan things out, you and your husband seem to be a very good team as to and on the same page as to what you wanted for your family. So
Yes.
and you get this IUD and you think, okay, we're good. And so walk me through how you found out that number 4, the last and perfect child in the DeVito Young family. How did you find that out?
So I had been very busy at work. We were opening a new arena on a college campus. And so it was just very long hours. And so, with an IUD, typically some people don't get a period at all, or it's very light.
Mm-hmm.
So the first month I kind of noticed like, oh, I don't think I really had a period, but kind of just brushed it under the rug again, like a lot of stress at work and have been working long hours, probably not drinking enough water. Like, you just all these things. And you're like, I have an IUD. Like, there's no way I'm pregnant. I've had it for, 5 years or whatever.
Wait, you had it at
And,
5 years at that point? Oh, because you got it right after the last child.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think, I was trying to remember. I think I had 2, because I think the first one was like a 3-year, and then I think then they took that one out, and then I think the second one was supposed to be a 10-year.
Got it.
Apparently we know that didn't work. So when the second month rolled around, which was February, I kind of was like, getting ready to turn 40. And I'm like, again, like, there's no way I have an IUD. Like, there's no way I'm pregnant. So I just went to the dollar store, got a test, because I'm like, I'm not there's no way. There's no way I'm pregnant. So I take the test, and immediately it shows up positive. So I start Googling, like, a crazy person, like false positives with an IUD, like just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, I just, there's no way, So I call my husband. He's at work, tell him, pregnancy test is positive. He's like, no, there's no way. He comes home, and we're just kind of like, there's no way. So, and that was a Friday night. There's nothing open. There's no doctor's offices open Saturday, Sunday. So Monday morning, I call and I let them know that I have an IUD, that I have a positive pregnancy test. And they were like, you need to get in here now, because if you have an IUD in, we need to remove the IUD. So went to the doctor's that Monday morning, and sure enough, you're pregnant. I think the only thing that would have shocked me more was if they would have said there was more than one.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing left to really just really surprise you here. Oh my goodness. Yes. I mean, I've heard of this. I've heard of pregnancies with IUDs. I think what's amazing and a miracle in your situation is it's not just the IUD, it's also your age, which it's not that, I mean, we don't feel 40, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it's not many 40, 41, 42, 43, 44-year-olds are getting pregnant naturally without an issue. But being that there was such a big gap in between the last kid and this one, we knew that you're fertile. Do you know what I'm saying? So I guess it's just with the IUD and the age, the fact that this baby had to be here is pretty cool and scary. Yeah. I'm sure first was scary. So so what I'm finding, which was hilarious, you said that your husband came home from work. Like,
yes.
He said what? And got in his car and came over. So you guys
was like, there is no way.
Wow. So how did you so this is a weekend of suspense. How did you keep this from your kids?
So, well, let me back up. So at the doctor. So they tried to remove the IUD because, again, you shouldn't be pregnant with an IUD.
Right.
And they tried for probably close to an hour. And because at this point, you got to remember, I was already almost 10 weeks pregnant. I had no idea. I was pregnant. I had no symptoms, nothing.
10
you hear
weeks?
these stories, or like, I think there's a show like, I'm pregnant and didn't know it. I'm like, how can you not know you're pregnant? Like, truly, no idea. Wow. No, nothing. No morning sickness. No symptoms or nothing. Nothing to say I was pregnant. So by the time I had went to the doctors, I was already almost 10 weeks along. So they couldn't get it out. They were like, now we can't get it out. It wouldn't come out. And they're like, it's a risk to the baby.
Oh, wow.
So they're like, it has to stay in. And now because of your age and because you have the IUD, now you're a high risk pregnancy. You have a double whammy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, you just dated yourself, because the only people who know about double whammy is our age group. But go on. If you are listening to this and you hear double whammy, you know it was a game show. But go on.
Yes. So basically it was a lot of processing at that point. It's like we weren't planning on having a fourth child. How does this change the dynamic of the family? Do we have room on our house? It's like you go through all of the motions. So we didn't tell the kids right away. So that was February. We actually told them on St. Patrick's Day. We made like a little pot of gold up. Oh. And we had the ultrasound picture in there, and came up with like a cute little clever saying, something like a new baby to hold. And the girls, because they were at an age where, they were old enough to understand, they knew, they would know. Total denial. They were like, there's no way. We're not having a baby brother or sister. We're like, they thought it was a trick. They thought we were tricking them. And we were like, no, we're not tricking you. Like, this is really happening. And what's funny is, makes the story even better, my son had told his teacher, he had like a sixth sense going on. He had told his teacher that he was going to have a baby brother.
No way.
And at the time when she called me, I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. Like, we're not having any more kids. And so he had this weird sixth sense that he was telling everybody he was going to have a baby brother when we hadn't told them. It was like before we even knew. So there was that whole little
element. Wow. That's amazing. I'm sure it must be an adjustment to go from being the youngest and no longer. But in your case, it sounds like he already kind of thought he was going to have one. So maybe that made the transition a little easier for him. Are they close?
Yeah. Oh, he was probably the most excited. Aww. He was probably the most excited. Like I said, the girl, I think for everybody else, it was kind of shock. Kind of even at 40, like calling my mom to be, to say I'm pregnant. And again, like, I'm 40, I'm a grown adult, I'm married, I have a job. So it's like, not about that, but it's just kind of like you kind of just think in your head, like, how could this happen?
Yeah. And how were you emotionally in terms of being pregnant at this age now versus, like the difference between the first one and this one? How was that emotionally for you?
Honestly, the whole pregnancy was like a blur to me. Like, because again, not finding out until, I was 10 weeks along, it was just kind of, I felt like I was in a cloud the whole time. Like, it didn't feel real. Obviously, you have changes going on with your body. You see your belly growing, so you're pregnant. But it was just kind of like a blur. Like, it just felt surreal. Like it really was a blur. Like, I just feel like it was like kind of like an out of body experience. Like, it just like, is this really my life? Like, am I really gonna have a fourth child? Am I really starting over? Because essentially at that point we were starting over. Yeah. We had gotten rid of anything that we had for a baby. So it was literally starting over.
Did that prevent you from having an actual connection with the baby when it was inside of you? Or was it something like once you gave birth, it all just kind of came together for you. Does that make sense? Because
it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, because it's sounding as if you had, up until that point, especially 10 weeks. I mean, that's kind of far along to, all that time you not knowing. So you kind of skip some of those phases of like, the fourth week, fourth, eighth week checkup. It's like, oh, wow, we're here. And then hearing all of a sudden, because you went from never having a high risk pregnancy, really, right? For those first 3 babies to all of a sudden, you're not just high risk because of the IUD. The age is also a factor. It sounds like a lot to kind of wrap your head around. So I was wondering whether that caused any type of disconnect with the pregnancy for you.
I do think it did cause some disconnect. Because again, it was just that whole, surreal, like, it just didn't feel like I was pregnant. I knew I was pregnant, but it was just kind of going through the motions, and it's like, okay, here we go, But yeah, once he was born, I think, okay, obviously you have a real life in the flesh baby that you're holding. So yeah, then it's the connection and you have it. And it's like, okay, I really, because you kind of have that doubt the whole time you're pregnant. Like, I know I'm pregnant, but am I really pregnant? But yes, once he was born, I would say that connection was definitely there at that point.
And so you mentioned something too about one of the nurses' reactions to you when you were pregnant at this office. Something about,
yes,
she asked you something that I think is so rude. Please share with our friends.
I was at my first appointment with maternal fetal. And they go through, your health history and your family history, how many pregnancies have you had? How many kids do you have? And that sort of thing. And she asked me, and I was kind of taken back by it, but she asked me, do they all have the same father? Which I answered yes, because it's same mom, same dad. But I was like, is this my reality now? Because I'm going to have, my oldest, the age gap between my oldest and the youngest. People probably will think that, is it a remarriage? Is it, are the older ones maybe dad's kids, those kinds of things were the thoughts going through my mind. But I was like, this is my reality now, because there is such that age gap that people aren't going to know. So usually we get, they either say, are they all yours? Which I've had actually other people ask me that. Are they all, mine and my husband's? Or they think because the girls are older, because my oldest is almost 20 and my other one just turned 18, they think that he is theirs, which they hate. They totally. We were on vacation this summer and we were at a fast food restaurant, and a woman actually said to me something about a grandma, and I went out and told my husband, I'm like, she thought I was his grandma. I was like, do I look that old? So that was the first time I had gotten that, but we've gotten several times. They think he's maybe, one of the girls is,
oh
child
my
in
gosh.
that. Yeah, we're grandma and grandpa.
What you're offering to this child, this boy, must be very different than what you were able to offer your older kids, right? Do you feel that way?
Absolutely. I think it, he's essentially kind of an only child at this point, because the girls are kind of, one's in college and, works, and the other one's getting ready to graduate high school and is kind of going on her own journey. We just went to Walt Disney World this past weekend and the girls didn't go. So it's kind of like we're back to a family of 4.
Yeah.
And then there's times when my 13-year-old, he doesn't want to go on certain outings that we go on. So it really is just the 3 of us. So he kind of is an only child, at some times. But I think being at this stage in our life, you can provide more, you're more financially stable. So yeah, it's definitely a totally different experience than when we had the other
children. I don't know what I would have been like as a mom at 24. I wasn't even in one place. I think I was just traveling. I mean, I guess if I had a kid in my 20s, I wouldn't have been traveling as much, but I was doing a lot of like theater at the time. But I don't know. I mean, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of your parenting style, I would say, now that because you've had so many different stages. You grew up with the first ones, and you were a full on adult with the last two, I would think, right? So how did your parenting style adapt over the years? Did it change?
As you get older, and the more kids you have, I think you get more comfortable, with your parenting style. You don't, for me, I don't question things as much, or you've kind of lived through it, so you kind of know. But I feel like now I just don't sweat the small stuff. It's kind of like choose your battles, You can still be a good parent and discipline, but I think we do it a little bit differently. And I feel like there's not as much, I don't want to say yelling, but there's just, we just don't get worked up, on things. We just do it differently. And we just kind of go with the flow, and honestly, we're really just enjoying it. We enjoy seeing stuff through his eyes, and you forget, because when your kids get older, you don't get to see, like holidays, or just like we went strawberry picking and just seeing the excitement of him picking strawberries. Like you forget all of that. It's kind of like they say when you give birth, like you forget how bad it is. It's like you forget all the little things that they get excited about, or their milestones. So I'm just enjoying it all, taking it all in, knowing this is my last one.
I don't know, Kimberly. I don't know.
Truly.
I hear you. We'll see. We'll revisit this next year, and then I'll hear, number 5 is on its way. Oh. Okay. Make sure that IUD is nice and in place. Well, we're looking to you for the parenting hacks and the marriage hacks, because you've been doing this a long time and you have all ranges of kids. So what is your best parenting hack you can give us? Give us the toddler fixes, because mine is 2 and the tantrums are full on. It's happening right now. You're probably going to hear it in the background. I'm going to try to edit it out, but it may just be there. Actually, I'm going to ask about potty training. Is there a potty training genius move that I can use to help?
Well, I'm probably not the greatest person to ask on potty training, because my last one, my now 4-year-old, refused to potty train.
Oh.
He literally has only probably been potty trained for 6 months, because he's kind of done things on his own. He didn't walk until he was 18 months. And so I don't think he was ready. I think the key with potty training, is when they are ready, they will do it. I do think the girls were easier to potty train. We finally got to the point where we were like, okay, you have to go to the bathroom. You have to go. So we did the little, okay, you get a couple of M&Ms. And then he got really into dinosaurs. So then we did the whole gamut of, okay, you get a dinosaur. So we had like a little stash. And every time he went, he got to pick a dinosaur. But they were trying at daycare. He would not go. He would not go.
Yeah.
But I do think if you give them a little bit of an incentive, I do think that does push them.
Okay.
A little bit.
Well, because people keep saying mine is a little young. I'm not really trying to push her to potty train. She just showed an interest. She started seeing older kids or other kids in her little part-time daycare class. I mean, it's only 2 hours a day for 2 days a week. But that was enough, I guess, bringing the kids to the restroom, to asking if they want a pee break. She's kind of watched them go, and all of a sudden she was actually telling me when she had the urge to go pee pee. And she hasn't really done it consistently, but she's showing an interest. But I'm wondering, how far to push her on that, in terms of like, do I even try to make this a regular thing in bringing her because she's so young? Can I wait it out? Or, just whenever she has an interest to go, just take her. I wasn't sure whether or not to like full on continue with the potty training, if that makes sense.
I mean, if she's showing an interest, I would kind of keep that up and, kind of encourage her. When he was refusing to potty train, we were doing the every 30 minutes. Okay, let's go potty. Let's go potty, just to try to kind of reinforce, kind of getting him used to that. Okay, you got to go. Like I said, for him, he's just stubborn. He's been stubborn. He did not come a day before his due date. So he has done everything on his time, and he has done that since the day he was born. So
Hey.
I truly, if they're ready, but he wasn't even showing an interest to even go. So we really had to, push him along. But I know I have a friend of mine now that has, a 2-year-old, and she was already showing interest, like even way before him. And I was like, what is wrong with my kid? But when they're ready, just like when he wanted to walk, 18 months, he finally did it one day.
Wow. Nakuri started walking early. I mean, if anything, it's been like, you have to make sure you keep eyes on her, because she climbed out of her crib at 10 months, opened the door to the bedroom and started clapping for herself. She walked out going, we said, yes, you did that. So it's been kind of like that was the last time I could literally like really watch or walk away from her, because she's a climber. She's very active. She's, all over the place. So it's, I'm finding, that she's keeping me very young in terms of energy, because I don't have a choice, but I also feel probably more tired at the end of the day than I think I would have felt if I had her years ago. But I wouldn't have had her. I would have had some other kid,
Right. No, I 100% agree. I think I do notice the energy is a big thing for me, which is nice having the older kids, because I can say, go play with your brother. Because it's hard when you work full time and they just have so much energy all the time. They're just go, go, go. And, being 44 now, and it does take a toll on you some days. You're more tired. And so it is nice to have the older siblings. And he loves them. Like they come home when the girls are here, he runs right to them, and they all just love each other, but it's nice to have the older siblings that can kind of step in that role when this old mom is too tired.
Well, I was going to say, it's great to have help, and you have that within, you gave birth to all of them. So you have like a little village, which is great. But in terms of the older mom thing, it's like, I really, ironically, I know what this podcast, what I want to offer is, the space for older parents to, talk about these things. But most of us don't feel old. It's not like where, this age, and this is just rules my life. No, I think we feel pretty young. I mean, sometimes I forget how old I am. It's just, there are some things though, biologically, physically, that remind us, you've been on this earth for a while, and they're not going to function exactly in the same way that they did 20 years ago. So I know that age is, it's one thing to say age is just a number, which I get that in terms of, how we feel. But like, even with me going through this process, and finding out about my fertility at this age, because I haven't been able to have a child since this one I had at 41. It's one thing to hear, you've got these great eggs and ovaries look great. They're just still 43-year-old eggs. That was the moment, that kind of like surmises, my battle with not giving in to this older mom thing, but also recognizing that there are differences within me and, and how I get through my day. And on top of, being a mom and a wife, it takes a little bit of a toll on the energy aspect, but for you with 4, I mean, you're splitting yourself amongst 4 very different individuals across very different phases of life, plus being a wife, and somewhere in there trying to find time for yourself and working. So how do you take care of Kim? What's the self-care routine for you to be able to manage all of this?
Well, retail therapy always does wonders.
Yes, girl. Yes.
But even just like today, like going to get a pedicure, getting your toes done, just I think taking yourself, as much as we love our kids, I think you have to kind of have that separation, even if it's for 2 hours, to kind of go and do something for yourself, whether it be going to get a pedicure, going to get your nails done, shopping, whatever it may be, just to kind of just break away. So that's for me, that's what helps. Sometimes it may only be an hour. Maybe some days it'll be, my mom and my sister and I, we'll all go do lunch and, go do an outing. But I think you gotta have that little bit of a separation,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that my husband, he's very good. We make a great team. So if there's something I want to do, he jumps right in there and says, don't worry about it. I got him. Go do it. Go do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's key. That's important to have someone, to have your partner who understands that time is needed. And I'm sure, you are supportive of him needing, getting that time if he needs to. You said something that was really key that really resonated with me was it doesn't matter necessarily how much time. It's like to make the most of the time. So if it's just an hour or it's 30 minutes, because a lot of times we think, what did I do before the kids, for some of us who only have one? Or what would I do if this wasn't this situation? But that's the reality. So therefore, instead of trying to find time for 2-3 hour blocks of getting the lashes done and the pedicure and all of this all in one day, to just take the moments when you can find them. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Like, whether it's 30 minutes here, an hour here, so if you break it down like that, you can actually probably do it more often than not. Mm-hmm. It's key.
Yeah. I think like with us too, it's like, everybody has, days where they're busier at work or, for my husband and I, we kind of know, we kind of feed off of each other's energy. So like if I'm super tired one night, then he'll take care of bedtime. He'll do the bath, read the story and kind of do the bedtime routine. And vice versa. If he's kind of tired or he's had, a long day, then I'll jump in. So, it makes it nice with that too, having such a great relationship between the two of us, to do that.
Yeah. What do you love so far about being a mom at this stage with this younger child?
Again, I think just really just enjoying the little things, just really being able to take it all in. Because I think when you're a young mom, you're focused on, because you're not as experienced. And so you kind of zeroing in on things that maybe now at this point in my life, like it really doesn't matter, So I think, again, just enjoying the little things, the school plays and, the artwork that comes home, and just really appreciating all of that and knowing like, again, this is our last one. So just enjoying all of that, where not that we didn't enjoy it before, but just really soaking it up,
Yeah. That's cool. Especially you could say that too, because you've had the artwork before from the older kids where are they now? where are those little shamrocks? And
right.
Every time my daughter brings me another art piece, I'm like, am I supposed to keep this in an album for like later? Because I don't think she or I will know what this is next week, yet alone.
That's why you selectively choose, maybe one item from each holiday. And then, maybe in a year, you're like, oh, I really don't want this, so you just save this few select, like really cute stuff. And then, but you're right. Like, I know my mom had saved stuff from when I was younger, and it's like, I don't want it. Like, what do you do with it? So it's so true. It's like, they're probably not going to want it either. It's more just the sentimental value, you know?
It's just for you to say, I loved you, kid. See, I kept this.
Yes.
What is this? I kept it all these years because I love you so much. That's what I'm going to, because I don't know what to do with them.
I had seen actually a cute, it was this was like years ago. It was when the girls were small, but it was like a big, like a portfolio. And it had like big pages. So you could like slide it in, and then you put like a little tag, and it would say, St. Patrick's Day, 2022, whatever. And it was almost like a scrapbook. So kind of like a big portfolio kind of scrapbook. But again, it's kind of, you're just making it for you because are they going to want it? But it was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
Or you know what I've been doing is taking pictures of some of it. And then that way I have a picture of the artwork. That way if it's something like bulky where you're like, I don't really want it. It's cute, but like it's kind of bulky to like shove in a drawer. I'll just take a picture of it. So I'm like, I have the picture of it, but I didn't necessarily, save the actual piece that came home.
That's a good hack. I'm going to borrow that. See? The wisdom. Thank you, Kim. See, this is why you need to talk to people with multiples and older kids, because you just saved me a good amount of space in my drawers.
There you go. If you got one thing from this
is the only reason why I wanted to talk to you. And I got it. So I'm good. Goodbye. No, I'm kidding. No, thank you. Thanks again, Kim, for chatting with us. It's nice to hear from someone with multiples. I have so many supporters of this podcast who started over at 40 plus, and I wanted to show that even for someone who's done it all before, still can feel overwhelmed at times. My greatest takeaway was making time for yourself, even if it's less time than you're used to having, and not sweating the small stuff. So whether you're trying to conceive, currently expecting, or doing it all over again, go easy on yourself. Even the pros need to take a moment to breathe. I can't wait to see you next week. We only have 3 episodes left of season 1. Wow. Thank you so much for taking this amazing ride with me. Let me know what episodes have resonated with you so far and what you want to see discussed in season 2. Send me an email at info@newmommyat40.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram at newmommyat40. See you next week.